dynamic discussion on Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. I'm Sonia LeRae, your lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, and naturopathic wellness practitioner. It's always so good to be back in our safe zone to really kind of develop and birth another fabulous discussion. Whisperers, before we dive in, hit the subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you want my best tools and master keys, join me inside of our fabulous, newsletter, the Whispers Exchange. And make sure you subscribe. There's always a live link in the description box, or you can head over to Instagram at whispers in a bottle _podcast. Give us a follow, drop a comment, and your girl will have your back and drop you a link. So, Podbean always has our back. Well, let's just say for now. They have placed in each and every one of our discussions a live chat box. So you can drop your comments, your questions, or if you want to show your host a little love, put it in the chat. Just remember, we ask that we give a little dignity and respect in here because everyone's opinion matters. And that's what makes for such a great community as the Whispers Exchange and everything. So, I love to start all of our discussions off with a clear meaning or a definition, and this is no different. But whisperers, today, we're going to get a meaning of two words today. So, our first word that we're going to get an understanding of is myth, a widely held but false belief or idea. Ooh, now hold on to that. I'm going to give it to you again. Myth, a widely held but false belief or idea. The second word that we're really going to get an understanding of is art. Art means the expression or application of human creative skills and imagination. Oh my goodness. Two starkly different meanings. So, once again, art means the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. So, whispers, take a sip of your mocktail, and I hope you got your mocktail because if not, you got to get in the newsletter. So, today's discussion may feel uncomfortable for some, but it is a necessary discussion. The myth of multitasking and art of single tasking. See, we are unpacking the myth of multitasking and reclaiming the art of single tasking. Not because it's trendy, not because it's on some kind of, board or maybe some trend on Instagram, TikTok. Not because it sounds soft, but because multitasking is quietly draining your body, hijacking your focus, and fragmenting your presence in ways you may not even recognize yet. So you see, today, this discussion is power packed. And I am so equipped and ready to lean into it. You should see my notes for this today, different things that I wanted to bring out. Matter of fact, if you see how I have my studio set up today, I even have a book here in front of me by John C. Maxwell, Today Matters, because it all leans into our topic today. See, Whisperers, multitasking has been sold to us as a badge of honor and like a marker of intelligence or requirement for success, especially for high level professionals, parents, caregivers, entrepreneurs. Somewhere along the way, I hate to say it like this, but somewhere along the way, being told being busy became confused with being effective. And like I told you before, many of our other discussions, we constantly hear that I'm booked and busy. But that can be a good thing in many ways, but also it can be a trap. So I want to be very clear when I say this. Multitasking is not a skill. It is a stress response. Ooh. See, your brain does not do multiple tasks well. Contrary to what you may have been told and everything else, I'm a person who does research. I really follow the science behind things. It toggles rapidly, creating mental residue each and every time it switches. So that residue costs energy, it costs you your clarity, emotional regulation, and even your joy. Now, if that doesn't get you and get you to kind of pause for a second and kind of lean into this discussion, I don't know what will, but maybe you need to come back and hear that intro again and those two starkly different meanings of myth and art. See, single tasking is not about doing less, whisperers. It's about doing what matters with your full nervous system on board. That means that you're engaged in a healthy manner. So, listen, today I want to slow this discussion down and anchor it into the body, the senses, and even the natural world. And I think a lot of times when we have discussions like this, people don't really lean into these factors or really come and build it out in such a way. Because our mind cannot recalibrate if your body never feels safe enough to stop rushing. So let's get into the truth about multitasking and let's dismantle the myths. And I think that's a great place for us to begin our discussion when you think or when you're multitasking or thinking about this multitasking, your brain is not performing tasks simultaneously. It is rapidly switching attention. It's like that. That's what your brain is doing. So each switch creates a small cognitive cost. Cognitive cost. Now, you remember we spoke and we developed a whole discussion regarding our cognitive ability and our intelligence and how that gets whittled away. So if you missed that discussion, you have to go back and get your master keys because, like I tell you, you keep your key rings close to you because each time we have a discussion, they come into play. They get to call back up so we could unlock those chambers. But see, over time, those costs add up to fatigue, irritability, even decision paralyzation, and emotional numbness. But multitasking trains your nervous system to stay in a low grade state of urgency, constantly being on that red alert. Now, who wants to constantly be at red alert? Always the alarms are going off. Imagine if you had to go in to your home to go to sleep at night, but you had a fire alarm that constantly was blaring. You could not sleep. You could not get the adequate rest that you need to be able to function day to day. But many times, that's what we're doing when we're training ourselves and training our nervous system in that multitasking. So your body interprets constant switching as a need to remain alert. And that means cortisol stays elevated. Cortisol, the stress factor. What is causing that weight in the midsection? What causes heart conditions? What causes diabetes? See, we're leaning into it. See, muscle stays tight. Your muscles stay tight. Your breathing becomes shallow. It even affects your digestion, it slows it down. And as a naturopathic wellness practitioner, I work with my clients in such a dynamic space in wellness and getting them to understand how cortisol really lays into our digestion and how it affects our gut. So, this even affects the health of our gut. And it also disrupts, like I said, your sleep. Now you're outside of your circadian rhythm and you don't understand why you got brain fog. You don't know why you're irritable. You can't even kind of lean into things. You're missing certain points. You're making little mistakes. It's because our body is constantly on high alert. So, this is why you can feel exhausted even after sitting all day. But single tasking, on the other hand, signals safety. It tells your nervous system you are allowed to be here. Ooh, Presence restores energy. Fragmentation, it gets, that fragmentation doesn't happen that you feel drained. So single tasking is not laziness, it's neurological leadership. Now, Whispers, this is a good space for me to introduce our master keys because our master keys are going to allow us to use them as stepping stones, and we need to own the art of single tasking. So these master keys are that powerful. And I love to give out our master keys. And if it's the first time of you listening to Whispers in a Bottle, I reiterate this each and every episode. Our master keys are so powerful because they allow us to open up the hallways, the corridors, and the secret compartments of our heart and our mind. And these keys are also so powerful because they allow you to shut off that inner and outer noise that keep you from stepping up over or into your purpose or even harnessing the tools we need to pivot and shift our mindset around multitasking, the myth about multitasking, and really gravitating to the art of single tasking. So look, let's lay into our first master key. Grab your keychain, make sure you got it, and put it on there. Your first master key is body scan. Body scan. Reclaiming presence through physical awareness. There it is. Awareness. We seem to always have to sit in a space and a place of introspection, that space and place of being cognizant of what is happening. So if you want to single task, you must start with your body. Your body is always ready to multitask. Trust me, it's ready because you've trained it that way. Your heart rate, breathing, hormonal balance, muscle tone. When you ignore it, it will interrupt you later through tension, headaches, anxiety, and dreaded burnout. Burnout. See, a body scan is not meditation for monks. It's not that. It's a practice or a practical tool for high functioning humans. So I love doing this with my clients, being able to guide them through it. And I'm going to do my best to help you today. So I want to invite you to sit comfortably, or if you're standing, stand with your both feet grounded, having them really planted. Okay. And Whispers, really take the time if you can right now and shift with me and allow me to walk you through this a little bit. I want you to start at the top of your head. Do you notice any tension in your scalp? And notice the top of your head. Do you notice tension in your scalp? Do you feel tension in your jaw? Or maybe the placement of how you have your teeth and your tongue? Or next, or no fixing now. No fixing. Just taking notice of where you feel this tension. So that means that you have to be cognizant of this. That means that we're doing a body scan. It's much like if I took you for an x-ray, we are looking to see if there's a problem. So right now we are scanning our body, and it's powerful. I want you to move to your shoulders. Are they lifted? Are they pulled forward? Do they feel heavy? Let's go down to your arms now. Are your hands in your chest or your belly or your hips or your thighs or your knees or calves feeling heavy, feeling tension? Do you have an ache, a soreness? Do you notice that you're kind of like leaning to one side? See, whispers, as awareness moves, multitasking stops. Why? Not because you forced it, but because attention has a single anchor. Now, that exercise is powerful. And you may need to come back to hear it. And this was right about that 1529 marker. So you want to come back and you want to do this exercise. And we're not fixing, we are taking account of, where do I feel this? How am I feeling? See, whispers, what I hope you took away from this exercise is where attention goes, fragmentation ends. See, a body scan, much like if you uh, teach your system how to be with one thing at a time without urgency, over time, the practice retrains your brain to tolerate stillness, which is essential for clarity and creativity. So, speaking about a body scan at a hospital is something that many people may not have ever had. Well, but if you've had an MRI, even if you had an X-ray, you know what that is. But it's just as in depth as those tests are. Because, see, it allows you to focus the energy in a single manner. And it allows us to take recognition of what is happening to us. So I want you to get into practice of doing body scans before meetings, before meals, and before bed. And why I have my clients do it before bed, because it allows them to see if they're holding tension in their body. And then they're able to do a powerful method that I teach them called the 4-4 method that allows them to reset their body and allow them to start to single task that their body can now calm down, relax, and enter into their night routine, and their circadian rhythm is able to come naturally. That's how powerful that is, whispers. And you hear me tell you about my morning routines. Before I do anything, I tap into my body, doing that body scan to see what I'm feeling and how I feel. What does the body need? But I also do it at night. I need to see what my body needs. It needs its nice hot tea. It needs a moment where I am sitting just quietly, maybe journaling or reading a little bit so my nervous system can calm down. And now it's in that it's not multitasking, it's single tasking. It's art at its finest. But you realize that for us to be leaning into this way, these moments reset the nervous system and make single tasking possible instead of forcing it. It means that we have to have a powerful second master key. And our second master key is sensory grounding. Sensory grounding. Using the 5 senses to interrupt mental overload. So, multitasking lives in the mind, where literally single tasking lives in our senses or in the senses. And when the brain is like overloaded, logic does not calm it. No matter how much you think it may, it does not calm it. Because sensory grounding pulls attention out of reminiscence and into the present moment. It is one of the fastest ways to exit that cognitive overwhelm. And why I kind of like paused on that was because I want to really kind of say it in a way that can be received, because sometimes when I do these discussions, I don't want it to sound so clinical, because I really want to break it down in a way that is useful for everyday life. For people that are hearing this for the first time, are really trying to grapple with this concept and get it under their belt, it requires that I really handle it and say it in a way that can really connect clearly. So I'm kind of choosing my words and what I want to say today and how I want to put this out here. Like I said, a lot of times when I'm doing the show, I'm thinking too because I write tons of notes, and sometimes how I write it, it just doesn't seem that it would connect when I say it in such a way. I don't want it to ever sound clinical. See, Whispers, when you have a moment, I'd love for you to notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel physically, and 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Now, let me give it to you again. I want you, when you have a moment, to notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can physically touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And you may be saying, now, why is that? Well, let me tell you why this is going to work for you. And because we're talking about sensory grounding, see, the sensory cortex and the stress response cannot dominate at the same time. They cannot dominate at the same time. So, literally, like your sensory awareness tells the nervous system that the environment is safe enough to slow down. So when we take notice of things, you ever notice that when you're like in that moment and you're having like maybe a stressful moment and you just kind of take a moment, you close your eyes and you visualize a serene type setting, how it starts to calm your system down. Or maybe you're in a space and place that you feel a little anxious and you start to breathe and you start to smell. Now, notice that a lot of times in working in holistic medicine, we do different things with smell, of course, because smell is something that is so powerful. It evokes different emotions, even. So where there's this smell of lavender, it brings in a calmness. Where there's a little bit of that smoke, it gives you a little bit of clarity to give the mystique of where the brain must go to find a clarity in through that smoke. Where is it going to take me? It's the same thing. Sensory awareness tells our system that the environment is safe. Slow down. Single tasking becomes easier when the senses are engaged intentionally on purpose. On purpose. So, how do we apply this? How exactly do we apply it? So, drink your coffee without scrolling. Literally. I want you to have your coffee, your tea, whatever it is, without scrolling. Eating without your emails, listening without rehearsing your responses, walking without constant distraction. That even means taking your headphones off so you can hear your surroundings. Do you know that many people that run and everything, they have their headphones on, they're not aware of their surroundings. And that's how a lot of things happen because people don't hear people coming up or people don't hear people crying out for help because they're distracted. But for us to not be distracted, it's much like our master keys that allow us to open up the hallways, the corridors, and the secret compartments of our heart and our mind because we're listening to them. We're hearing them. Just like you just had to really listen because I so lowered my voice and whispered into the mic, it got your attention. It's the same fact and principle. These are not small acts. They are nervous system repair. So whisperer presence is not about doing nothing. It's about doing one thing fully. It means that it requires action on our part. It requires engagement on our part. The art. We said art was the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. So when we imagine things, we get to paint full of colors. We get to birth things that are dynamic. See, Whispers is powerful. This is a full bounty discussion today. And I want you to really lean into it. But with that in mind, I'm going to give you a third and final master key because, see, I don't want to overwhelm you too. So I only placed 3 master keys in this discussion because it is so powerful. And there are so many different layers that we're leaning into. And our third master key is nurture connection. Nurture connection. Regulating the nervous system through natural or the natural world. So, nature is the original single tasking teacher. I don't know how many of you know that or not, or even have ever heard that. But trees do not multitask. The oceans do not rush. Sunlight does not hurry. Nature operates in rhythms, not urgency. Have you ever noticed, like, even the birds and squirrels, they out there just flying around, they just, relaxing on on the limbs, even when they're gathering. It's a space and place that they're in. They're in a rhythm. See, research shows that time in nature lowers cortisol, it improves your focus, and it even restores attention capacity. Even for brief exposure matters. Now, I tell you all the time, I'm not the great outdoorsman. I will not lie to you about that. Because, see, the great outdoors is kind of like, whew, a little place of like fear for me. Because I'm scared of a little bit of everything. But I will tell you this. I love to go and drive and sit by the waterfront. And the trees and the birds and everything are outside. And I get to really take in that nature and have my window cracked. I listen to the birds chirping. The water is flowing. There's some geese out there and everything. But it's regulating my nervous system. It's allowing me to be present and in the moment. See, Whisperers, nature does something screens could never do and cannot do. It gives the nervous system a wide, soft focus instead of sharp, narrow ones. And this allows the brain to rest while remaining alert. See, Whispers, nature teaches the body how to be present without effort. Single tasking becomes natural when the nervous system remembers what calm feels like. It's so funny. A lot of times, people that are around me, clients, associates, friends, they always tell me, they say, "You're always so calm." You just make me feel calm. And that's what it allows us to do, is to sit in that space and place that our body becomes regulated and understands what calm is, that it becomes our baseline. Our baseline. So I tell you guys, I'm in music and I love music, and everybody will tell you that the bass line in a song is what really kind of starts to attract you into it. You have that thump, 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 thump. But you realize we have a natural rhythm that has been placed inside of us, a bass line that has been placed inside of us, and that's our heart. Lub dub, lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. That's what our heart does. It's a natural rhythm from outside. and it brings calm. Even when women are pregnant and they're carrying their babies hear that heart, lub dub, lub dub, lub dub, and they fall asleep by it. Then a baby is born and there's none of that sound, that motion, and that feeling that they have. But then when they lay the baby upon the mother's chest, the baby becomes quiet because it's listening to that sound, that rhythm. See, whisperers, it's powerful because we as people are created in this dynamic manner. But because society says multitasking shows you that you are really capable and you're a leader and this, that, and the no, that's a myth. And today we have a clear pattern that is being shown to us, that is being told to us, and that has really been researched and scientifically backed in neuroscience, even. You know, Whispers, our time together always goes so fast. But if this episode helped you, I want you to pause right now and hit subscribe and share this with someone who really needs to hear it. Or I want you to pin mark this episode and come back to it when you are sitting in that space and place and feel that multitasking. You feel that urgency. You feel that shh. We call back to calm. We call back to the art of single tasking. That's how powerful this episode is. You know, Whispers, I always tell you, if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, there's a live link to my calendar in the show notes, which is in our description box to book a consultation so we can start developing your blueprint. Because as a luxury lifestyle architect, this is what I do. This is what I do daily for my clients. They get to lean in and start to really understand the ebb and the flow that needs to be a part of their life. So they're not constantly living in the urgency, in the rush, in that present of feeling overwhelmed. But now they're living in the art and the ability of calmness and the shift that happens naturally. That lub dub. See, our hearts are telling us. Our hearts are giving us the signal, the message, the courage to step up and step in. That's what makes us great leaders. That's what makes us great people, because we're not afraid to shift or to pivot. You know, Whispers, I'm always honored to come in and have such powerful discussions with you. And I always tell you that I appreciate you always spending your life seconds with me. So before I wrap up everything, if you would like to book me as a guest on your show or to have me as a speaker or an MC at an event, please feel free to lean into my fabulous publicist. His name is Trey. He's really incredible. His email is treytheglue@gmail.com. And once again, that's treytheglue@gmail.com. Come over to whispersinaBottle_podcast on Instagram. There's always a live link to him, even in our bio. So you can always tap into him no matter what. And, like I said, my calendar is always available to you. So let me say this in closing, Whispers. Multitasking like promised productivity, but delivered exhaustion. Technically, that's exactly what it did. It said, listen, I'm going to give you productivity, but why do you feel so exhausted? Why are you burned out? Hello. But single tasking offers something more valuable. Do you know what that is? Did you hear me tell you before? Well, just in case if you missed it, it gives you clarity. It gives you regulation. It gives you peace without disengagement. And you do not need to do everything at once to be powerful. You need to be with yourself while you do what matters. See, Whispers, this week, I want you to choose one moment each day to single task intentionally, on purpose. Breathe, feel, just be present in the moment, in the now. Allow your nervous system to regulate. Allow your nervous system to regulate and come to baseline again. Because the art of single tasking is not about slowing your life down. It's about showing up fully for the life you are already living or you said you wanted to live. Let that vibrate with you for a moment. Let that resonate with you. So, with that being said, Whisperers, I'm going to say this again before we close off because many of you all are hearing me for the first time. And, come May 18th, we won't be live in front and center like we are every week at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on Podbean because Podbean has decided to focus more on their AI and that they are going to do away with live streaming. And Whispers, let me say this. A lot of times when we hear about AI, people are very negative about AI and everything. But let me tell you, it's not AI. But what it is this. If we as people do not start allowing our voices to vibrate at a higher decimal, AI will. And if we as people don't start to value real conversations, AI will. So it's much like a myth. And we learned today what a myth really is. It's a widely held but false belief or idea, meaning that AI can do whatever a person can do. Well, I hate to tell you, AI cannot do what Sonia LaRae does. Because, see, I come in with clear intention, aim, purpose, and direction to be able to lean in to powerful discussions like this. And no, AI did not create this discussion. I did. So, with that being said, everyone, you have been listening to Whispers in a Bottle, Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, a clear voice amongst the noise. Don't forget to come back next Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on our home platform of Podbean. My name is Sonia LaRae. I'm a lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, and naturopathic wellness practitioner. And I wish you all a beautiful weekend. And don't forget, keep your master keys on you. Talk to you guys later.